Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hey Rama, Jaya Kodani Tai Maya Poshashi, Kodani Tai Maya Poshashi. Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Gurudev. Reading from the next function. Haribol. There is a passage in the Haya Shirsha Pancharatra which states, "My dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of God, that I do not want any resultant benediction from my religious life, nor do I want any economic development, nor do I want to enjoy sense gratification, nor liberation. I simply pray to be an eternal servant at your lotus feet. Kindly oblige me and give me this benediction." In the same Hayashesha Pancharatra, after the Singadev wanted to give benedictions to Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad did not accept any material benediction and simply asked the favor of the Lord to remain his eternal devotee. In this connection, Prahlad Maharaj cited the example of Hanuman, the eternal servant of Lord Ramachandra, who also set an example by never asking any material favor from the Lord. He always remained engaged in the Lord's service. This is the ideal character of Hanuman, for which he is still worshipped by all devotees. Prahlad Maharaj also offered his respectful obeisances unto Hanuman. There is a well-known verse spoken by Hanuman in which he says, "My dear Lord, if you like existence, or the privilege of merging into your existence, if I do not wish even after the grave." Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So reading from Still chapter 7. Chapter 7 entitled What Prahlad Learned in the Womb. And we are on that 41. Yad Ata Iha Kamani Yadata Iha Kamani Vidvan Mani Mogam Vindate Phalam Mogam Vindate Phalam Yadata Iha Kamani Vidvanmanya Sukrinara Karotyato Vipanyata Amogam Vindate Phalam Yad Ata Iha Kamani Vidvamanya Sikranara Karotyato Viparyasa Amogam Vindate Phala Amogam Vindate Phala Yadata Iha Kamani Karotyato Viparyasa Phala Vidvanmanya Sikrinara Viparyasa Yad of which Iha in this material world. Harmony, many activities and practices, so on. Vidvad, advanced in knowledge. Mani, thinking himself to be. Asakrit, again and again. Nara, a person. Karoti, performs. Ata, from this. Viparyasam, the opposite. Amogham, unfailingly. Vindate, achieves. Phalam, result. Translation: a materialistic person, thinking himself very advanced in intelligence, continually acts for economic development, but again and again, as enunciated in the Vedas, he is frustrated by material activities, either in this life or in the next. Indeed, the results one obtains are inevitably the opposite of those one desires. Responsibly, please. A materialistic person, thinking himself very advanced in intelligence, continually acts for economic development, but again and again, as enunciated in the Vedas, he is frustrated by material activities, either in this life or in the next. Indeed, the results one obtains are inevitably the opposite of those one desires. No one has ever achieved the results he desired from material activities. Okay, that would go great on a t-shirt, eh? On the contrary, everyone has been frustrated again and again. Therefore, one must not waste his time in such material activities for sensual pleasure, either in this life or in the next. So many nationalists, economists, and other ambitious persons have tried for happiness individually or collectively, but history proves that they have all been frustrated. In recent history, we have seen many political leaders work hard for individual and collective economic development, but they have all failed. This is the law of nature, as clearly explained in the next verse. Omagana Timaranda Shagananyana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmashi Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhunichananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shrivas Adigoda Bhattarinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatrubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhyevacha, Paditanam Bhavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. So this reminds me of a political manifesto that if you're going to run for Prime Minister, say, yeah, we decided Nanda Vigraha should be the next Prime Minister. Jai. And we have a campaign, because they go around, don't they, with those little things in vans, and they're saying, vote for Ananda. And then it says on the side of the van, no one has ever achieved the results he desired from material activities. And then he puts forward that everyone in the country should chant 16 rounds. And if they do that, they don't get council tax. And if they follow the 4 regulative principles, then they'll be allowed to get a job. On the contrary, everyone has been frustrated again and again. Therefore, one must not waste his time in material activities for sensual pleasure, either in this life or in the next. So you could be trying to get it in this lifetime, or if you're a little bit more canny, a little bit more intelligent, then you may be thinking, okay, I'll put up with the austerities right now, but I'll enjoy in heaven. And that's why my dad brought me up an atheist, because he hated capitalism. And he said the capitalists were exploiting the poor working class. And when the working class said, oh, I can't eat anything, there was no bread, they said, don't worry, old chap, you'll get your rewards in heaven. So in that way, people were placated to some degree. Okay, you're suffering now, but don't worry about it in your next life. Of course, in your next life, you won't remember your past life, so it won't make any difference. Just like now, you can't remember your last life. It has no consequence. So although we do believe that you don't die, in one sense you do die, because the false ego dies. Everything you know yourself as is finished. So when you go back to the spiritual world, or when you go anywhere after this life, everything you knew yourself as is gone, is taken away. Everything, whatever you possess, whatever talents you had, whatever memories, friends, relatives, everything is wiped out. Everything is taken away. So although we know that we don't die, in one sense, as far as the false ego is concerned, we do die. Everything is wrenched away from us, no matter how hard we cling on. Well, the more we cling on, the more difficult it is. So many nationalists, economists, and other ambitious persons have tried for happiness, individually or collectively, but history proves that they have all been frustrated. Does anyone know of anyone who has been successful in history? Anyone cite an example in history of someone that's been successful? It's not really possible, is it? Because if you have a lot of people on the beach making far out sandcastles, and some of them make really, really good ones, they're all neglecting to observe the fact that the tide's going to come in soon and smash everybody's. So in one sense, nobody can be successful, because it's in It's a shaky foundation in the first place, building a sandcastle on the beach. And it's just a question of time before it gets smashed by the tides of time. So no one's built a sandcastle yet. And even if they build one out of concrete, it's just a question of time, isn't it? It just takes longer. But everything's annihilated. History proves they've all been frustrated. In recent history, we've seen many political leaders work hard for individual and collective economic development, but they've all failed. This is the law of nature, as explained in the next verse. So any comments or questions? Do you think that's a bit bleak? Is there any counter argument you could put forward to say, well, it isn't all that bad? I mean, you've got to make the most of it, haven't you, while you're here? I mean, look on the bright side. Somebody could say that, couldn't they? If you don't say that, then if you accept the conclusion that it's a waste of time, then you'd have to immediately begin practicing self-realization and promoting self-realization, sharing it with others. And that's an art, actually. Sharing what you have learned is an art, because what can happen sometimes is you think that what you have learned is the only way, and then you may develop a kind of false ego, a kind of self-righteousness, that this is it, and anyone who doesn't agree with it is stupid. So being able to have people understand you means, first of all, you have to understand them. You've got much more chance of being understood if the person you're preaching to feels that you understand him. So one of the habits of highly effective people is seek to understand before being understood, rather than just ramming your understanding down somebody else's throat. So I think for a preacher and a person who's going around giving lectures to other people, their greatest strength is their ability to hear. And then the person that's being heard will be more inclined to want to speak and reveal their mind.
So on this note, sometimes in book distribution, what is encouraged? Should we be hearing? Should we be listening? Should we be trying to a bit understand the person and give him out a book? Or if we feel, okay, no, he's going to go on his own saga of emotional this, that, and all, I don't have much time to listen to you. Either do you think you will give me some Lakshmi and take this book? If not, please move on. I've got others too.
So there's 3 levels of book distribution: Mahapunya, Smriti Aina, and Shubham. So if it's Mahapunya, then the person who's getting the book isn't even going to be the person that reads it most of the time. And quite a few people in Edinburgh, they took the book because they knew somebody that was going to read the book, but they weren't going to read the book themselves. So there was no point in me giving them a 5-hour lecture. So Mahapunya is that if people come in contact with the holy name, Prashadam, they touch the Srimad Bhagvatam, they say Haribol, good morning to a devotee, then they've secured a human birth in the next life. So some of us are going out today, we can at least guarantee that we'll be securing a few human births for these people that were maybe destined to be animals, slugs, microbes, COVID, bacteria, whatever. So now, boom, we'll get everything. Now, the next stage of book distribution is Swasti Aina. That's when we sit together as devotees and we have sanghas about the holy name and our realizations of our Swarup, if we're that advanced, and what our Gurudev is doing for us. And we sit down and then we develop our distribution of the knowledge in such a way that we stimulate it. They say if you synchronize, 1 and 1 makes 11 through synchronization. So you get a lot more out than you put in when you get a sangha. You sit down with the devotees and you say, hey, why don't we talk about the holy name? It's not, why don't we let this person ram all his facts and figures down our throats for 2 hours? I mean, that's our education system, basically. You just sit there and you listen to everything I'm saying, and then you can go and regurgitate that to somebody else. You know? Whereas Sangha is more, you synchronize. So you chant things. You know, anybody have any reflections on this? What does that mean to them? And there's devotees always have different insights into what Prabhupada is saying and what it means. And you think, wow, that's amazing. I never thought of it like that. So that's Swasti Aina. You're encouraging each other on the auspicious journey. And then Shubham is more the book distribution that goes on between you and your guru. That he is on the other side. He's out the maze of material existence, and he's telling you, this is it, Goloka doesn't exist, Krishna is there, this is motivation, this is the real thing. He's relishing it, and he's trying to bring this now to the final destination. So 3 levels of book distribution going on. And for ourselves, we have to remember that the first person we have to distribute the book to is ourselves. We have to give ourselves the book and read it. Sometimes we're so busy giving out the books, and then somebody says, well, what's the book about? What's the book about? I don't know what the book's about. I can't read it. I'm too busy passing them out. If that was all you had to do, then the books don't really have to have anything in them. They can just have pass me out written on the page. Pass them out? Okay. You just don't read it, pass it out. No, stop reading it. So you're supposed to distribute the book to yourself first and become aware of it. And then for most people, we're engaging them in some agyata sukriti. They don't really know what it is, what it's for, but they to some degree or another, they become endeared by us. They find us amusing, attractive, trustworthy, and they decide they'd like to take their first step. And then if they actually take the book, read it, and apply it, then they go into the next level. And then what would happen then is that they would immediately want to share it with their friends and reading this book. It's like we did, right, when we first came into Krishna consciousness. We think, oh, this makes so much sense. But then we realized that what makes so much sense to us doesn't make so much sense to somebody else. Because it's not just a question of looking at formulas and saying, look at this, 2 + 2 = 4. Isn't that amazing? Because for somebody else, 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4. Depends on your sukriti, how much piety you have. For a lot of people, 2 + 2 = 5 or equals 3. Like the 4 regular principles, they equal application, but not to everybody. For some people, that would be, oh, that's an inconvenience. I don't want to hear about this. I've already established I want to do these activities. There's Asuchi Vrata and there's Suchi Vrata. Suchi Vrata is no little sex, no touching, no gambling. And Asuchi Vrata, which is in the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Asuchi Vrata is sworn to unclean work. So they take the vow to break those principles every day. Asuchi Vrata. And we wear Suchi Vrata. So some people are making a vow not to. Yes. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I'm wondering, if we read this verse in isolation from the rest of the Bhagavatam, actually, it might not sound very encouraging to a person. So is it important that we focus on this point, that the material world is a dreaded place? Is this like our main motivation when preaching, or for ourselves also?
If it's taken in isolation, which is a really good point, is that nothing should be taken in isolation. Like the Prabhupada says in one letter, do this. You would have to look at the context of all the letters and all the books. So in the context of all the books, you'll have two different extremes when you're reading Srila Prabhupada's books or Vedas in general. One extreme is that this just seems so gloomy and so depressing and almost so impossible to achieve statements. And then another collection of statements, this is going to be so easy. You don't even have to say Rama. You can say, I'm just going to Sinna Rama. Or it could even be separated. The Ra could be still in the mark. And even then, you're taking a step closer. So you have these super, super easy things. Wow, this is just going to be a total, even if you chant it unconsciously, you're delivered from the complicated meshes of birth and death. And then it's not about trying to hear my rounds. I just had the I'm getting creeping back. Wow, this is just so easy. And then the other one, even if you're attracted to just the glimmer of the ray of the rising sun, you'll have to come back. There's no change. You chant for millions of lifetimes, you won't get anywhere. It's all useless. And then we're in between the two. trying to navigate our way through, trying to follow the general road where we plod along, nothing amazing, but we just do our bit every day as best we can in a kind of mediocre way, and we get there. So the challenge is, can you navigate? Can you learn to balance and become equipoised so you don't become complacent when it seems really easy, and you don't become discouraged when it seems really difficult? And that's what Kanishta is. He's up and down. So you meet if we had two say you can have a Kanishta and then you could replicate the Kanishta. You got these two Kanishtas, the same guy, and one Kanishta is him fired up. Oh, this is so easy. And the other Kanishta is him totally fried, saying, I can't do this. This is impossible. And then sit them down and let them have a conversation. And that's what we've got to learn to do. We've got to learn to have a conversation with ourselves to find how we can balance. No, it's not completely impossible, and it's not completely easy. We have to look at that in context of this, and we have to look at that in context of that. So then everything becomes qualified. And if we can learn to qualify things, then we won't be so up and down. We'll learn that we can just push on through this and stay steady. Yeah. Steadiness is the first platform we have to achieve. We have to become steady so that our mood is always generally the same, our outlook is always generally the same. And it's not becoming steady then. Nishta. Ka Nishta and Nishta. Ka without, Nishta. So what I think is really good, and I noticed Mataji was doing it the other day, is you have a book full of all the positive statements that really enthuse you, really make it. And then you have those ready. It's interesting, Ashtra and Shastra are very similar. So Ashtra is a weapon. And if you have Shastric knowledge, then when you get hit with negativity, you can actually fire a weapon of knowledge into that and disperse it. And it is actually a battle. I don't know if you've noticed yet, but going back to Godhead isn't as easy as you may think it is when you first start. And then you realize, oh, we're actually at war. We're at psychic. We're having psychic battles here. We're going to become psychic warriors. Hare Krishna. So we can deflect. So we find ourselves becoming negative and discouraged, then that's a sign of the mode of ignorance coming in. And if we're just like being complacent, thinking everything's okay, then that means we're getting attached to the mode of goodness. And if we really want to do stuff, we really want to achieve results, and really be recognized in the mode of goodness. Complacency, when we're in the mode of goodness, then we become complacent. We're thinking, well, okay, maybe I won't go back to Godhead, but I'm a nice guy, so I'm at least heading for the heavenly planets. So you lose the urgency. And if you're trying to get from the mode of ignorance to the mode of goodness, what you have to go through in between? You have to work hard. You have to start working. And then when you're able to maintain an intense endeavor, it turns into the mode of goodness. But if you get lazy when you're being passionate, then you just go back into the mode of ignorance. But if you can maintain it, then it will go into the mode of goodness. You maintain hard work, eventually goes into the mode of goodness.
I was reading in Bhagavad Gita yesterday that the one who is situated in mode of goodness is entangled in this material world by happiness. So it seems like even somebody who is in mode of goodness, they can't attain Krishna. So how to transcend these three modes, and why do we, think about going to the mode of goodness?
Well, mode of goodness isn't actually the mode of goodness, because mode of goodness is actually pure spiritual Vasuddha. When we talk about the mode of goodness, we mean a very, very slight amount of ignorance and a very, very slight amount of passion. That's the material mode of goodness. And then when it becomes completely 100% pure, then it's spiritual. Because that's what it is in Vaikuntha. It's just all pure goodness. No tinge of ignorance or passion. So that just means being to persevere on the path and have this faith and this humility. That was a nice point yesterday that came up about humility is there to help us assimilate the opulences, digest, actually was the word used, to digest. So we have to acquire humility and faith, and then we're able to digest. Because if you don't digest the opulences, then they can turn into Tarangaranjani. And Tarangaranjani is one of the forms of unsteady devotional service, which is where you are given some facility, some material facility, and you start enjoying it. Some recognition, some prestige, some fame, some facility, and you start thinking, this is pretty good, you know. So these are all subtleties, and a nice point as well today was that the Bhakti beach looks exactly like the weeds. So that means we have to become philosophically astute, very well grounded in the philosophy, so that we can identify when something is actually counterproductive to our advancement in spiritual life. And sometimes we won't know, we'll make the mistake. It's like that when you're gardening, sometimes it looks like a really nice weed, and then as it starts to flower, you realize, oh my God, this is a monster, and you have to try and get rid of it. You know? But the next time you see that leaf, that shape of leaf, you know, no, you're going to go into a monster. Sorry, I'm pulling you out now. So we try to learn by hearing, but quite often we learn by the school of hard knocks. But if you're prepared to persevere, then you'll get the knowledge, the experience. But you have to persevere. So if you desist, if you're going along on the Bhakti Marg, and at any point you decide you want to desist now, then at that point you don't learn any longer. You'll have to wait maybe for the next lifetime, and then you can resume the class, the lessons of life. Shishikod Nitai, Maya Pashashi. Did that answer the question? Whose question was it? Oh, was that? Is that good? Okay.
When the embodied being is able to transcend these three modes associated with the material body, he can become free from birth, death, old age. So I was just thinking that maybe we need to transcend from mode of goodness as well.
Yeah. So what would be the difference between somebody in embodied goodness and somebody in transcendental consciousness? What would be the distinguishing features? Yeah, no, and Srila Prabhupada, as an example of someone that was transcendental, sometimes he would be, he wouldn't just be like impersonal about things. He would be moved by things, or in the transcendental way. He would be very exuberant about something. And when they made a mess of that land in Juhu Beach, they were saying to Prabhupada, and they were having a conversation with him. And he said, "Did you sign it?" And they said, "Yes, Prabhupada." And he just put the phone down. Yeah, Prabhupada. he was. There's a few cases where Hari Sori says Srila Prabhupada got really angry when he wasted Prabhupada's time. He locked him in by accident. And when he finally opened the door, Prabhupada was very moved, you know. So how would we distinguish if we had a Vasuda Sattva monitor and we put it on someone's head to say, oh, he's just in the mode. Oh, this is a good one. He's Vasuda Sattva. What would be the distinguishing feature? Being absorbed in Krishna all the time, yeah. Like when Prabhupada was on the plane, he was looking out at the houses, and he said they look like little matchboxes. And he said, just think how small they look to Krishna. He's got a universe going out the pore of the skin, and that's just a plenary expansion. Imagine how small everything looks to Krishna. And that just gives you a little insight. That's how a person who's the Sudasattva is processing sensory perception. Everything's reminding him of Krishna.
Freedom from hankering and lamenting.
Hankering and lamenting.
Free from the three modes of material nature.
Yeah, it may be also that we're not able to appreciate somebody that's completely impure. One of the best dimensions for measuring a person's consciousness is time. You see how the person performs over a period of time. And sometimes a person can seem really advanced over a short period of time, or over a long period of time. Just by dint of the fact that they're not here anymore indicates that they weren't that advanced. So sometimes it just takes time. You're thinking of accepting somebody as a spiritual master, and you've known the person for 6 months, then it may just take some time to get that faith. You know? Of course, if the person you're taking initiation from has been a spiritual master for 20, 30 years, and he's never faltered, then you've got the benefit of being in a society where we have, when Srila Prabhupada was here, we didn't have that benefit. That, you know, the devotees have only been around, the longest ones have been around 10, 12 years. Now they've been around 50 years. And so if you see a devotee that's in good standing after 50 years, then you're pretty dead cert that if you take initiation from him, you're not going to have any problems, you know. And he's not going to have any problems. It just takes time.
Just a thought, if I got it correct, on the digesting the opulences. Is it the Krishna conscious teachings that digest or don't digest whatever opulences come? It is all for the glories of Guru and Gaurang. Is this the, say, we have to use the word digest as well, is this the best digestion? Or that whatever comes to us, it is for the opulence wise, say, name, fame, or whatever. It is all because of the glories and the mercy of Guru and Gaurang. And whatever is not looking so palatable is because of my own karma, bad karma, and because of my lack of Krishna consciousness.
Can you think of an example of an undigested opulence?
I suppose lots. Sometimes we see devotees getting, like, there's one Prabhupada disciple, and in America, this was in early years, I believe, or 70s, mid-70s maybe. Now, he was doing very good services in the temple, everything. Not sure if he was initiated or not, but he was very enthusiastic in serving the mission. And he got a letter from an insurance company, like his parents passed away in a car crash, and he got lots of insurance money from that. Now, so much money came in, and then he was no more seen in the temple, like doing services and all. So maybe undigested opulence.
Yeah.
Even like undigested opulence, there's always, I suppose, a chance of getting carried away by name, fame, very subtle. Gross is one thing, one can still digest, or gross is one thing. One can still pretend to be a bit careful that, okay, I'm not caught in any gross un-Krishna conscious activity, say, but to digest name and fame in subtle form. Question, you mentioned that false ego dies when we leave this body. But does it really actually die? Because like next life as well, and from a soon as we are born, like we still have this false ego growing up as child, very infant age onwards, is it not? Oh, this is my thing, this is my house, and I like it like this, like that, this is my toys, all of that. So It's just that the physical body is separated, but those impressions, are they not still there, the memories and everything, and then we start off pretty much from where we left, say?
Well, the subtle body goes with us, and it has a bucket list of desire from the past lifetime. But at the same time, it's confused because, say, you were male in your past life, and this life you're female, then you may still have identifications with something which you no longer have, and you're finding it hard now to adjust to this new lifetime. Oh, you may have been a dog, and now you are in a human form of life, but you're still pretty keen on behaving like a dog. And people keep saying, no, you shouldn't do that, This is not what a human being, how a human being is supposed to conduct himself. So you take with you some of your baggage, but at the same time, everything has been taken away from you. Everything you knew yourself as in that body is now gone. So in that sense, you've died. You've been stripped of everything. Then you take a few desires and attitudes, memories with you into the next body, but it's a different body. It's a new style, and you have practically no memory now of what you were. Like they say when John Lennon wanted to when there was a Swedish astrologer said that John Lennon had taken birth as a dog. I heard Prabhupada referring to it. So whether he did or whether he didn't, but as a dog, you could go up to the dog and say, hey boy, do you remember when you were doing all these songs and you were so famous? For the dog, that's gone, dead and gone. It has no relevance or bearing upon the matter now. So as good as dead.
Would you say false ego is maybe more like nurture over nature then? Like if you're born in a family of pure devotees and are surrounded constantly by people who are working to diminish their own false ego, would you naturally grow up with less of a sense of a false ego, or is it naturally just within us? And even if you're surrounded by brilliant people, it could just develop as like you could just be sort of like a bad apple in a way.
Well, you have choice. Like there was one guy, he was a drunken bum, and he had two sons, and one son became a drunken bum as well, and one son became a top neuron surgeon. So they asked the bum son, "How come you're a bum?" And he says, "What you expect?" From my father. And then they asked the neuron surgeon, "How come you're so successful?" He says, "What you expect?" From my father. So they both made their choices. You have the false ego, you have the environment that you're in, and then you have your choice. And you make your choice. You decide whether you're going to use this as an excuse to fail, or you're going to use this as an excuse to succeed. That's up to you. That's your choice. You always have that choice. That was a real, yeah. The real deal. So you can look at what's happened to you in your life, and you can conclude, wow, I got hit on the head when I was 5 by a glass bottle, just there. And then I got beaten up when I was 7, and then a hamster died when I was 8. And so what you expect, Or you could look at all of that, and you could react in a different way. It's up to you how you want to respond. You can choose. It's interesting as well, Prabhupada says the sound vibration of the Maha Mantra dissolves the false ego. Because generally when we're thinking of the false ego, we're thinking, don't do that again, that was too rude. Next time, make sure you let it out. That was so rude what you said then, so next time it happens, don't do it like that. So when we're thinking of the false ego, something that you can tweak, and then it'll just be okay, But dissolve conjures up thoughts of pouring acid all over your false ego, you know, in the form of sound vibration. You just sprinkle the sound vibration all over, and this false ego just dissolves. You don't do anything with it. You don't try and fix it or realign it with something. You expose it to the sound vibration. It's all, you know. If you ever chant a lot of rounds, you'll notice that your mind is a lot quieter than usual. It's not like, we're going to do this. It's more like, do you think it's possible we could do this? It's like a really quiet little suggestive, no. Okay, sorry, I didn't second. Sorry. Okay, what are we doing? Devotional service? Okay, no problem. As the false ego has been so smashed, so beaten down, you do a high volume spiritual sound vibration. Its potency is weakened. You can only maybe humbly suggest something like, this is what we're doing, and that's it. All right. I've had a Jaffa. Listen, put the bead back down, get to bed. No! What do you mean you're trying to hear it? That's what the false ego is like. It's very demanding, you know. Well, I don't think that's a good idea. I'm about to do 16 rounds, you know. Never mind. About 16.
Remembering what Mataji said as well about people who maybe have had their ego completely shattered, and that it has to be rebuilt to then be dissolved. What do you think is a healthy way of rebuilding someone's destroyed ego when they're in a very vulnerable position? Is there a way that you can consciously help lift someone without feeding them any sort of toxicity of a false ego?
Well, she made the point, and I've read the book about counseling, and the point comes up so many times that when you realize you're out of your depth, then you have to recommend them to a professional, you know. So although as devotees we want to be, you know, we're well-intentioned and we want to help people, if somebody was having a heart attack and they needed some kind of surgery, you know, the fact that you're a really good devotee doesn't really have much bearing on it, because it's not within your realm of expertise to deal with. So just like you can have physical things that break, you can have subtle things that break as well. And there is a way of fixing it, or there's some kind of medication which can keep the person stable, you know. And that requires, like Prema Krishna and myself, we did the mental health first aider course. So quite a lot of that was just seeing danger signs and then reporting it to professionals to come in and help the person, you know. So it's good to at least become more sensitive and becoming aware that this is not something you should try to take on in the first place, because you're just making a mess of it, you know. Even though you may really want to help the guy, like anything, you know, you may not know that what you're doing is actually counterproductive, you know. So we, as the Hare Krishna movement stands right now, it's not a mental asylum. The Prophet said no lazies and no crazies. So if you're either, then, you know, we wish you all the best, but you're in the wrong building, actually. You need to go down to the psychiatry or go somewhere where lazy people go that get made to be not lazy. Maybe go to a boot camp, join that for 3 months, get nothing to share. Any final profound statements or questions? Okay. I think as we go on in this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, then mental health will become more of an issue, because people don't realize how much what they're doing is damaging their mental health. You know, scrolling all the time. And they reckon now the average kid in school can't be attentive to something for more than 15 minutes, because that's usually when an advert comes on. And if you notice now with Instagram, it's very short. It's got to be like practically, otherwise you become disinterested. It means the attention span's getting much lower, you know. If you can focus for just 12 seconds, that's dhyana, which is 4 mantras. So if you can hear 4 mantras without thinking of anything else, then you've achieved dhyana, which is meditation. If you can times that by 12, And for 144 seconds, which is about a third of a round, you can chant a third of a round without thinking of anything else, then you've achieved dharana. And then if you multiply that by 12, which is about 24 minutes, 25 minutes, if you can chant 4 rounds without thinking of anything else, then you've achieved samadhi. So for most of us, it will take an entire lifetime to get to the point where we can chant and focus for over 25 minutes on the holy name and nothing else. And that 25 minutes is what it takes to leave this material world and enter into the spiritual world, to go into that other realm. 25 minutes of nothing else. It will break through the material energy and get it in samadhi. And so for a lot of us, we're trying to, I managed 11 seconds. Oh, I thought about myself. I got a hold of myself. I will have to sell it today, but let's try that again. So then we try again. And then I did it. 12 seconds. Yeah. Okay, now 144. And then 25 minutes. It'll take a few years just to get to the point of being able to focus for 5 minutes. We don't even realize we're not focusing. Posture, prayer, and pronunciation. So the posture, it's got to be straight. It can't be like it's not going to work. At least physically, we've got to get physically right first. Then we can look at mentally. So if you look at a devotee's posture during japa, then you can see how much he's actually being attentive, or is he just disinterested and distracted? There's a type of japa called radar japa. That means he's not listening. It has to come to the point where the chanting becomes the thinking. If you look in the devotee's head when he's chanting, all that's going on is the Maha Mantra. That's all he's thinking about. There's no other thought. Just the Maha Mantra. You can't pretend that you're doing it because it's just so obvious that you're not. You can just see. They're a million miles away. It takes a while to get to the point of being able to just connect and fix. But anyway, we're trying. That's why we chant 16 rounds, because if you ever start doing archery, you need a lot of arrows. When I first started doing archery, you realize I had started with 6 arrows, and then you realize you need a lot. So it's like that with japa. To hit the bullseye, you need a lot of arrows. And hopefully, after firing them for 2 hours, at least one of them hits the bullseye. Yes, Guru in the key. Till Prabhupada ki. Go to Premanandi.